Okay, right. So good morning, everyone, and we are very happy to have you all tune in on this Friday's NORA startup webinar. As you might have understood from Alex, my name is Freya Jørgensen. I work as innovation manager in the startup incubator Gründergarasjen at Simula, which is one of the partners in NORA, and I have the pleasure of leading the NORA.startup steering group. So as an introduction today, I was invited to give a brief reminder of who we are and how to get in touch. So here we go. NORA is the Norwegian Artificial Intelligence Research Consortium, consisting of 7 universities and 2 research institutes, aiming to strengthen research, education, and innovation within the fields of AI, machine learning, and robotics in Norway. NORA.startup is NORA's innovation network, and our main goal is to facilitate closer connection and collaboration between the research and the startup environment in Norway within the mentioned fields. Our uniqueness lies in our ties to a large academic network and at the same time focusing on innovation and business. NORA startup is still in its early days, but we are heading into an exciting developmental phase now, currently with 15 startup members, several tuned in today, of course, and around 20 academics and more people and activities in the loop. So for more information and to apply for a membership to NORA startup, you can check out our websites, nora.ai/NORA startup. I'll also share it in the chat with you afterwards. And then to today's webinar, which is titled Funding and Funding Possibilities for Researchers and Research Startup Collaborations. I would just like to remind you all that this is a unique NORA startup event. Sorry, something happened here with my screen there. Now I'm back. Sorry about that. And it will be a continuation of our first webinar on funding, which you can find online with former webinars. So it will be a special NORA Startup edition covering 2 unique sessions, where the first session will be a regular open webinar ending around 9:45, followed by a second session tailored towards approved NORA startup members. Both sessions will take place in the same webinar link, so we kindly ask that our members attending session 2 stay logged in after the first session. And with that, I would like to pass the word forward to our fantastic moderator, Alex Moltzow.
Thank you so much, Freya. That's wonderful. So we're just going to start now. See, and yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, good morning, everyone. We're really happy to have you tune in today. This is our Friday webinar, and we're really excited to have you here. We have the European Innovation Council Pathfinder Horizon 2020 Eurostars program representatives. So in a way, we can talk about funding options here from the Norwegian Research Council today, and I'm sure that's interesting for quite a few of you attending. So this Norwegian Research Council representative is Cathinka Holterman and Sigurd Malm. We've also invited 3 startups who will share their experiences and answer your questions, namely Nablaflow, VOCA, and Future Ready. They've been through various application processes and R&D collaborations, some of them with researchers as team members, and will tell you all about the rewarding and demanding process of establishing collaborations, writing and submitting applications. We have many questions. We're looking for answers. The participants will present themselves and share some of their experiences. The webinar, as mentioned, ends in a plenary discussion of shared interests, challenges, and possibilities, and how we might get even better at sharing to build this vibrant AI startup ecosystem. First, let's start with a quick round of introductions. I will begin, followed by the introduction of each member. My name is Alex Moltzow, and I will be your host today. I work with AI policy and ethics at NORA. I work to provide an overview of national and international policies relating to the field of artificial intelligence. My educational background is within social data science, combining insight from social theories together with computational methods and data science techniques. I have background from consulting in KPMG, starting up several organizations, and was the project leader of a co-working space in Oslo. so I have an intimate familiarity with the startup ecosystem in Oslo, and I will give now the word to Paul. Could you please tell us a few words about yourself?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
My name is Paul Malm. I am an advisor at the Research Council of Norway, and my main work there. I work with the European Innovation Council as a national contact point. My background is in computer science, and I worked for most of my career. I worked in the Telenor research in the telecom area. I was a research director for the New Media Group, and later I worked with New Business, the incubator, with working with startups in Telenor. Now I'm part of the ICT and digital group in the Research Council.
Thank you so much, Paul. Cathinka, could you tell us a few words about yourself? And if you,
yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Cathinka Holterman, and I work as Paul at the Research Council of Norway as a senior advisor. And I work in the Department for Industry and Service sectors. And my background is in political science and economy, from different universities in Norway and in France. And at the Research Council, I'm responsible for the team for Pillar 3 in Horizon Europe, which covers different instruments and programs for startups, SMEs, close to market, but also on the combination of R&D and industry. And that's something Paul will present for you later. At the Research Council, I'm the contact person and responsible for this program called Eurostars, or the Partnership Innovative SMEs, which I will present to you later. And for years, I've been working on different programs and schemes for industrial R&D and commercialization. So I'm looking forward to this seminar. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have about almost 20 years of experience in NFR, right?
Yes,
so,
I have.
Yeah, it's we have a very experienced member of NFR with us today. But we also have startups. So Luca, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hi, Luca Giano here. I am the CEO of Nablaflow. My background is in aerospace engineering, so I'm an aerospace engineer, and I have a PhD in aerodynamics for sports, so professional sports. I've been working in the world of professional sports for 15 years, mostly with the Norwegian Olympic Committee, and for the past 5 years also with the professional cycling team, now it's called Ineos Grenadiers, before it was Team Sky, and 10 years of experience working with offshore wind, helping the green transition from oil and gas to renewable energies here in Norway, applying to a number of research projects also through NFR. It's my main.
Okay, thank you so much, Luca. Really appreciate that you're here today. The first presenter today will be Paul. Paul, could you please, give us an overview here. What's happening?
You want me to share my screen?
Yes, please. And if you could activate your video as well.
So you can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
And now you can see my video too?
Now I can see your video as well. And also the wonderful unicorns later in your presentation, I believe. Okay, great.
Do you see the presentation?
Away, yeah, I see it. It's great. It looks really, really good.
Okay, So thank you again for having me. I feel really honored to be part of what you call the special edition of NORA. And today I'm going to talk about the EIC, or the European Innovation Council, and with special focus on the Pathfinder program. And also the talk is aimed at the funding possibilities for startups and the startups and researcher collaborations. The EIC Pathfinder program is formerly known as Future Emerging Technologies, and it's one of the most competitive and prestigious EU grants available. And throughout the Horizon 2020, it has had a significant impact on in terms of results, also within AI. The main target group is scientists from universities and research institutions, but also collaborations with entrepreneurial researchers and startups and high-tech SMEs. I will start with some background on the EIC, and then I will narrow down to this EIC Pathfinder program and the opportunities around that. So there we are. First, some background about the rationale for European Innovation Council. The problem in Europe, and maybe also in Norway, is that if you count the citations and Nobel Prizes, Europe has some of the best scientists in the world. So the big question is, what is holding back Europe in terms of innovation? That is the same question that we have in Norway, and also when the European politicians asks if the taxpayers' money spent on R&D creates impact in terms of jobs and solutions. They feel that they want to have be more like in the US and in the Asia, where they have more startups that are scaling. The value of death is well known. It's a well-known term in the startup world, but there are actually two value of deaths. It's about getting good ideas and results out of the lab, and it's about scaling up high-risk innovative startups. And as I said, another challenge in the US is that most of the unicorns, that they call it, they come out of the US and in Asia. Unicorns has become some kind of benchmark for the new type of legendary startups that originated out of Silicon Valley. It's young companies with rapid growth and rapid growing valuation. Most of them comes from the US and China. There's very few in Europe, and there's actually no unicorns coming out of Norway. The only unicorn you can find in Norway, you have to buy in the toy store. So here you see the two value of deaths. It's the technology gap, and it's the value of death that is more well known in the startup environment. EIC offers funding from Blue Sky Research via pre-commercial activities, and in EIC the results will be pushed towards higher TRL levels. Technology levels provide some kind of guide for the stage of development and are used in the program, the work program, as a guidance, but not preclude support for non-technological innovations. The Pathfinder program supports early stage development of future technologies, and the Pathfinder project typically starts at low TRL levels and have the ambition to bring it up to TRL levels around 4. Also, when you see the public funding that you get from Research Council and also in Horizon Europe, usually you can get most of the funding for basic research, and then it gets lower and lower, and then around pilot and commercialization phase, you have to find funding elsewhere. This is a map where I have tried to map the different funding programs on the same scale, from basic research all the way to market. In the bottom, you see the Norwegian ecosystem, and where you have Research Council of Norway, mostly funding basic research, applied research, prototyping, and into pilot. And then Innovation Norway takes over, and then you have also other national funding organizations. On the top, you see the different pillars in the Horizon Europe, in Horizon Europe, where you have European Research Council, Pillar 1, Blue Sky Research with very basic research. And then you have Pillar 2 with Global Challenges, more for applied research prototyping. And then you have Pillar 3 with European Innovation Council and European Innovation Ecosystem. So usually when you need funding, as a startup, you could say that maybe you have nothing to do all the way to the left. But when you start to go to the right, there are opportunities for startups and SMEs, first as collaborators, and then as single entities. So if you look at the same map where you have EIC Pathfinder from around early applied research over to pilot. Research usually is in the driving seat. You have SMEs, startups, they can be partners in Pathfinder projects. Then you have 2 other types of programs. It's innovative SMEs that Cathinka is going to talk about, and you have EIC transitions. That is more like a bridge over to what is called EIC Accelerator. Here the SME startups can be in the driving seat, but with support from research partners. And then you have the EIC Accelerator, where startups and SMEs can get funding alone. EIC Pathfinder, the funding scheme, is divided into, it's the EIC Pathfinder Open. That is a bottom-up approach with no predefined topics, and the deadline is already in May, 19th of May. So if this is the first time you hear about it, you can just forget about applying for it, because it's a heavy process to write applications for that. But within EIC Pathfinder challenges, you have more top-down challenge-driven calls within specific technology breakthrough areas. And we will get more into that later in the presentation. Here you have a deadline, 27th October in 2021. Pathfinder challenges is an area where they have 4 different challenges that are on their way to breakthrough, and where they had specific challenges that they want to meet. And there's a challenge guide that is on its way to be published. It will be published at 15th of June, where they will describe these different challenges. And here you have the 2, 3, and 4 are more towards medicine and biology, but the awareness inside is more aimed at artificial intelligence and what they call awareness engineering. This is a description of a very short description of the awareness inside. It's a very text-heavy presentation. And I won't go through it. You can take a screenshot of it, or you can look at it later. But awareness inside is about new awareness concepts for engineering principles. And it's a collaborative project for at least 3 partners. So what do startups need to be aware of when applying for funding in Horizon 2020? First of all, we always say read and understand the call. There's always very good documents to read, and of course find the deadline. Find good partners, find research partners, and also this is an opportunity to find your future dream clients and ask them to collaborate in a project. And understand within all of these areas, you need to understand the additional requirements that is in the application. In Horizon 2020, they have a term called do no significant harm. They have a gender dimension, and they also have descriptions about open science, etc. Learn these requirements and be aware of the lead time. Many startups, they are short in time, and you need to be aware that when applying for funding through soft funding, there's a processing time, and there's a time to impact on the results that you might need. What do startups need to be aware of when applying for funds? Well, in national funding for RCN and also for Innovation Norway, you really need to understand what is called the EU regulation on state aid, what in Norwegian is called Statsstøtteregulativet. This is a way to decide the funding intensity that we can give research projects. EU wrote the EU regulation on state aid, so they don't have to follow it themselves within Horizon Europe. So here actually you can get more funding, and in Horizon Europe, SMEs and startups are really attractive partners. Here you have what is called the Research Innovation Action, where many Norwegian companies actually get 100% funding for the work they do. And then you have innovative actions and innovative SMEs, where you have less, but still a quite good funding scheme. So this is the last slide. The national contact persons for EIC is written on the yellow note on the left. It's me and Cecilia Mathisen, and Cathinka you will hear more of later. And in Innovation Norway, you can contact Benedicte Sognefest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that presentation. And next up, we have Cathinka, which is a colleague of yours. So, as you can see, responsible for another one of these really, really fascinating funding schemes. So please, Cathinka, if you will.
Thank you very much. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it works just fine. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for this invitation to present one of the programs in Europe now. I will talk about Eurostars. That's the name today, but Eurostars will turn into a partnership called Innovative SMEs now in Horizon Europe. And Eurostars is a program cooperation between the EU Commission and a network called Eureka. And This is not very complicated, but Eureka is a cooperation between different countries. So this is cooperation between the EU and the countries. And I think it will be very interesting for the SMEs and startups. I have a problem for my next slide, Alex. It doesn't work. Oh, there we are. Okay, the Partnership Innovative SMEs is a joint program between Eureka and EU, and it's dedicated to R&D performing SMEs and startups. It's market-oriented, it's bottom-up, there are no strategic priorities. You can have projects in whatever fields you like, and it's about international cooperation. The SMEs are always in the driving seat, meaning that the SME or the startup always have to be the project leader in a Eurostars project. But they may cooperate with universities, large companies, research institutes, or of course, other SMEs in other countries. The program is very market-oriented. It's about how to develop in cooperation with your partners in other countries, innovative products, processes, and services. And usually we talk about a Eurostars project for about 3 years, 2 to 3 years. And market introduction is foreseen within 2 years after the project has finished. There are many, many countries participating in the Eurostars program. There are all the countries in the EU, and there are also some partners outside Europe, like Canada, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, Chile, Argentina, and Singapore will become a member this year or next year. So there are a lot of international opportunities, both inside EU, but also in the rest of the world. Eurostars, or Innovative SMEs, the new name, have some eligibility criteria. The project leader has to be an R&D performing SME from one of the Eurostars countries. And as I said, the SME or the startup always have to be in the driving seat in the project. The evaluation criteria for Eurostars are 3 different perspectives. It's about the quality and the efficiency of the implementation, meaning basic assessment, the quality of your consortium. It's about excellence, both in innovation and R&D. And of course, it's about the impact, the market, and the commercialization. So the consortium you have, finding good partners, relevant partners, is extremely important. And it's also very important that this is about R&D performing SMEs or R&D performing startups, meaning that the project has to be done in-house, in the companies, in the startups. It's not a program where you, if you want to subcontract most of your work, Eurostars is not for you. And the Norwegian funding rates. As Paul already presented, Norwegian SMEs and startups may receive funding to cover up to 50% of their actual R&D project costs. And in Eurostars, that means the cost you have for industrial R&D and or experimental development. If you get closer to market, the commercialization part, finding investors and so on, you have to find other programs and schemes to cover those costs. You may also have other partners from Norway in your project. As I said, research institute, universities, or university college. And they may also have a financing of their project up to 50%. There is one exception. They may also get up to 70% of their costs if a Norwegian SMEs is the main partner, have the more than 50% of the cost in the total project. You may also invite large companies into your Eurostars project, and they can have finance up to 30% of their actual R&D project costs. When it comes to the budget, you can have covered up to 50%, and that meaning 6 million Norwegian crowns. And then it will be a project for 12 million Norwegian, and we covers up to 6 million. The next cutoff will be in September, October. The date hasn't been set yet, but you can go into the website for Eureka Eurostars or RCN, Forskningsrådets website to find more information. The name will be changed to the Partnership Innovative SMEs, but if you Google Eurostars, you will still find all the necessary information. Or you may contact me, and here you have my email. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a great presentation, Cathinka. Very, very easy to get an overview with your help. And now we will hear from a startup, but not any kind of ordinary startup member. Talking about research-driven innovation, Luca is a researcher and he runs a startup. So I was really fascinated to hear kind of a bit more about you, Luca, and your startup. So again, the floor, or may I say the digital screen is yours, I guess.
Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, it will have been definitely better to be there in person. So I'll show you a little bit the journey that we had with our startup, but let's start to understand what we do. So our main goal is to disrupt the way we simulate wind. Just so you guys know, wind is probably one of the most, wind and fluids in general, are one of the most complex items to simulate. Where did we start and where are we at? We started in 2019 with an idea that came out of me, Siri Kalvik, that was one of our co-founder and a good friend of ours, and Knut Erik Kiradus, who is professor at UES. So we're really coming from research started at the university. In 2019, and this is also important for other startups, we've been involved with a TTO, which is the TTO of the University of Stavanger, that helped us in the starting up process. We had 2 grants from Innovation Norway, commercializing phase 1 and 2, because we are actually have already a product. We are selling both consultancy and at the same time selling consultants using the products that we're developing. And in 2021, which is this year, the year where we're planning to go to market with our products, we also been involved with the NFR, and we got the grant for the NI application, which is the commercializing application, also from NFR. A very interesting program for startups, because they is focused not only on the research based. It has to be, of course, coming also from statal funding, previous research on statal funding, but also in the growing of the startup itself. Where do we come from? I've been working in this world for quite a few years now, about 15 years. For the past 5 years, we also work tightly with both the cycling team, and for the past year also through the cycling team with some Formula 1 team with Mercedes, that we use to mostly validate the tools that we are currently developing. The simulation here that you see is actually the world champion Filippo Ganna. So we've been running the whole optimization of his aerodynamics through Nablaflow. We also have collaboration with the Norwegian Olympiatoppen. So we've been working with them for many years. My PhD was actually together with them. And also for them, we mostly work with athletes, optimization of athletes, mostly done in a digital way, but also validated with wind tunnel experiments. We do also some crazy simulation. I'm a surfer myself, and we've been the first, I think, company in the world able to simulate a breaking wave and a surfboard inside a breaking wave. However, fluids are everywhere, and wind is pretty much everywhere. So the methodology that we are applying or that we are developing can be applied in many and multiple fields. And we believe in this process of democratization. So right now it's us running the simulation, but we want this to be brought to designers, and eventually at some point even having people able to run the simulations that we are currently running. So the whole idea is to bypass consultancy by generating and making tools that are simple, cost-efficient, interactive, portable, and cloud-based. In order to do that, we have put a lot of effort into automating, streamlining. Everything that we run is on the cloud, meaning that you don't need to have a machine in your place, but everything can be run up in Amazon. And we're implementing machine learning algorithms into what we do. And that's why we are invited to this specific talk. How it works, the way we want it to work is that you just have to design what you have to design, and we take care of the rest, and we will present to you the results in a way that you can understand and use in order to improve your product. Your product can also be a building. So what we are mostly focusing on right now in terms of commercialization is the building market. So we are developing a product called ArchiWind, where as an architect or as a builder or as a municipality, you can just upload a building and get a simulation out of it within 2 hours. And this is the main bottleneck, this 2-hour simulations, because it's, even if we run it in the cloud, it's a very complex type of simulations that are currently run. And this is where machine learning come into play. So we've been working now for the past year in order to develop a tool that is able to predict the flow around the buildings with machine learning algorithms. And this can be actually done. Now this, let's see if this one is working. Yes. So now the tool is running basically locally on our machines, but we are planning to put it online. And this is like a map of Oslo with a flow field around buildings simulated directly with machine learning algorithms that are trained on our super advanced simulations. We are about 10 people, a little bit spread. Some of ours are full-time, some of ours are part-time. Really important for startups, get involved with a CFO, someone that has a financial background that can help you in writing the proposal writing. So someone that has experience in writing proposals if you are not good yourself. And we are growing really fast. So we have big customers behind us. We have big persons behind us, and there is a lot of push for us to grow. So right now we are in that phase where we are looking for new and smart people to involve with us in the future steps. And I think that's it from my side.
Okay, great. It's really exciting to see, and the visuals are amazing, Luca. I think you know, just looking at kind of how you visualized everything from this wave to these buildings, and you know, it's super exciting. I think maybe we have some strong competencies on this as well, considering the recent acquisition of Spacemaker, and you know, this maybe this is something that we're actually really good at in Norway to some extent, or getting really good at, and building kind of an environment for. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we've been in contact with Spacemaker for basically from their day zero in some ways. So we know the guys there. They really made they had an amazing journey. So it's a really we should use them as as an example for how a startup based in Norway can really succeed both commercially and also technically.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring in Paul and Cathinka again now, and then very soon we're going to go over to a second part where we will bring in quite a lot of the different startups in NORA.startup to continue the discussion, and we also will bring in Klaus, who has a lot more experience with these type of processes than I have. But Paul, I just want to kind of bring this over to you again, because Spacemaker, for example, it wasn't like it wasn't exactly a unicorn because the kind of definition is a kind of a valuation of US 1 billion or more, but it's kind of reached. So because I love the quote, "The only unicorn in Norway you have to buy in the store." That's a very strong statement. So kind of how are we going to build these unicorns in Norway, or if we don't just want to buy them in the store, you know, but if we want to have them as startups?
Well, I don't know if it's so important to actually to create unicorns in Norway. There's a lot of things about the innovation ecosystem in Norway. One thing is that if you have a lot of money in Norway, you put them, you buy buildings. So maybe that is why VOCA is also aiming towards the building industry, but by property. But I think that one thing that is haunting the Norwegian and the European funding ecosystem is that we seems to be very good at aiming R&D, but we are struggling with these double valley of death, and getting really good ideas out of the lab, and also getting things to scale. And I really do think that the European Innovation Council is, I believe that they have found a way to actually address this. Of course, history will tell if they succeed, but I really do think that this is a better way to fund promising ideas and get them into the market than they have done before. And I hope also that Norway is going to follow their example.
Thank you, Paul. That's a very good, some good points there. And so I think we probably will bring in more of the startups very soon. But Cathinka, just some thoughts from you. 20 years with NFR, as I mentioned, what are the kind of the biggest mistakes that you can do in an application?
Well, I think the first advice is to read the call and to read the text, because very often people are in a hurry, so they don't really read what it's expected to deliver. And I think it's very important to read it and to have very good partners. A lot of SMEs have a lot of networks all around in Europe, and I think that there are a lot of opportunities for them. And if you look at the Research program, Norway actually has a very, very good record in achieving a lot of money from the Research program. We're on the top in Europe. We're among the 5-6 countries on the top. And then we are comparing ourselves with Germany, with Holland, with France, with UK. So Norwegian startups and SMEs, especially the small ones in R&D, have a very high quality and very good network. So we have seen that some of these instruments, and especially as also Paul said now with the European Innovation Council, they have a lot of instruments very relevant for Norwegian small companies. And we've also seen that last year there was a pilot call for the EIC Accelerator. That's the instruments after the Research Council when you're closer to the market. And actually 7 Norwegian SMEs, they obtained about 500 million Norwegian crowns in that call. And that was in an extremely tough competition with more than 2,000 SMEs all around Europe. So, I mean, Norwegian SMEs very often come from startups, come from the university sectors, and they are really, really in the position to succeed in the new instruments in the EU. And
so just really quickly, I have to thank Paul for joining. I believe he has to go, quite busy schedule. But it's also great maybe to mention just quickly that Paul, he has been around, as he said, Telenor, and he has been around these different places. So you have like people that are in the like in NFR that have really kind of a background that helps them to understand you as a startup as well, you know. But you also have like these people such as yourself, Cathinka, with this really, you know, large, you know, just bank of experience that you can draw upon from understanding all these different research environments. So I think, you know, there is a really strong, you know, team there in the Research Council of Norway that that kind of wants to make sure that you will be successful as a startup, right? So
yes, it's very good. It's a very huge support team also in Innovation Norway. So please feel free to contact us. If you go into our website and search for Horizon Europe, you will find all the information and the contact person. So feel free to do that.
Yeah. So Paul, any final words before you have to leave us?
Okay. Yes, I need to leave. Just one thing before I leave. One thing that we struggled with when I worked with startups in Telenor was that when they are going to scale, typically you scale in Norway, then you try Norwegian startups, then they go for Sweden, then they go for Sweden and Denmark. And each time you have to struggle with regulation, and you have to struggle with all these things. And I think that through the European Innovation Council, I think that Norwegian startups is getting some of the same chances that they get in bigger markets like the US, where you have a really, really huge market to scale in. So it's a way to get access and to scale in a bigger market. And that is a very good opportunity for Norwegian startups.
Wonderful. Yeah, so thank you so much. This was the end of like our first section, and we're very, very fortunate to have you with us today, Paul, and thank you so much for coming.